There's a moment subtle, almost imperceptible, when history stops feeling like a weight and begins to glow. When the past is no longer a chain, but a lantern. When the stories that once held you captive become the very light that leads you forward. You do not forget what came before. You do not erase the scars or silence the echoes. You do not pretend the past did not shape you, but you reclaim it, not as a wound, not as a burden, but as a foundation, because history is not meant to be carried as grief. It is meant to be understood. It is meant to be honored. It is meant to be a guide, whispering, "Look how far you've come." And for so long, you thought it was just darkness. You looked back and saw only regret, only lost time, only mistakes that you could never undo. But then the light began to shift. Then you realized that history does not exist to haunt you. It exists to remind you of the battles you have fought, remind you of the storms you have survived, remind you that even in the moments you thought you were breaking, you were becoming. You see, the past does not disappear. It does not crumble into nothing. It lingers, waiting, not to pull you back, but to prove to you that you made it through. And when history begins to shine again, you understand. You are not standing in its shadow. You are standing in its light. Because you are not just what has happened to you. You are what you choose to become because of it. And that is how you turn history into something beautiful. And so, you stand at the edge of time, watching history glow not as a fire that consumes, but as an ember that warms. It no longer grips you with cold hands. It no longer whispers of what could have been. It no longer chains you to the echoes of yesterday. Because now, you see it for what it is. A story, a lesson, a testament to the fact that you are still here. Every moment you once wished you could erase, every regret you thought defined you, every scar you swore would never fade. They are not weights. They are proof. Proof that you have endured. Proof that you have grown. Proof that even in the darkness, you are still becoming. And when you begin to see it, when history no longer looms over you but stands beside you, something shifts. You no longer flinch at the memories. You no longer hide from the past. You no longer let it dictate who you are, because you are more than what has happened to you. You are more than the shadows that once followed. You are more than the mistakes, the losses, the roads not taken. And now, as you turn forward, as you take another step, as you breathe in the air of possibility, you do so without hesitation, because history does not hold you. It guides you. And when history begins to shine again, so do you. Not as a reflection of what was, but as a beacon of what will be. But here's the truth. History is not just something you leave behind. It is something that walks with you, woven into your bones, etched into the lines of your hands, whispering through your every step, not to haunt you, not to hold you, but to remind you of what you have survived and what you are still becoming. Because history does not end where the past stops. It breathes in the present. It shapes the future. It is the quiet hum beneath your skin, telling you that you are made of everything that came before, and still you rise. You rise beyond the echoes of old fears. You rise beyond the doubts that once chained you. You rise beyond the weight of yesterday, not because you forget, but because you understand that history was never meant to be a prison. It was always meant to be a teacher. And now you stand at the crossroads of what was and what will be. No longer afraid, no longer bound, because history shines in you, not as a reminder of where you were, but as a beacon for where you are going. And this is only the beginning. Go forward. Write the next chapter. and make it shine. There is a kind of power in understanding this, that you are not a prisoner of your past, that you are not bound to repeat the same cycles, that history does not decide your future, you do. So now, what will you choose? Will you keep looking back, tracing the same wounds, reliving the same stories as if they are set in stone? Or will you turn toward what is waiting ahead, toward the unwritten, the unknown, the place where history has yet to be made? Because make no mistake, you are not just the product of what has happened. You are the author of what happens next. And that is the moment history truly begins to shine. Not in what has been lost, but in what is still possible. Not in the echoes of regret, but in the fire of reinvention. Not in the weight of yesterday, but in the wings of tomorrow. So step forward. Let the past be your foundation, not your cage. Let your history illuminate, not define. Let the lessons stay, but the burdens fall away. Because this is where you begin to shine too. Brighter than before. Brighter than ever. Brighter than history itself. There comes a moment, a quiet, undeniable shift, when you realize that the past no longer holds you. Not because you've forgotten, not because it no longer matters, but because you are no longer carrying it the same way. The weight that once crushed you, it has become the ground beneath your feet. The mistakes that once defined you, they have become the lessons that shape you. The pain that once felt endless, it has become proof of your endurance. And so, as history shines behind you, you step forward not in fear, not in hesitation, but in understanding, because now you see the past was never meant to be a shadow, but a lantern, not something that blinds you, but something that guides you. And you are no longer just someone who remembers. You are someone who creates. So write the next chapter. Take the next step. Let the old stories rest where they belong behind you. Because what matters now is not what has already been written, but what you choose to write next. And that is how history truly begins to shine again. Not as an anchor, but as a light leading you home. But here's the truth. History was never just about what has been. It was always about what can be. And now, as you stand on the edge of possibility, you have a choice. To stay where it's safe, where the past is familiar, where the weight of what was feels easier than the unknown ahead. Or to step forward into the light of your own making, to let go of the echoes that no longer serve you, to become more than what history ever expected. Because history may whisper, but you decide what to listen to. It may remind you of the scars, but you decide how they shape you. It may show you the roads already traveled, but you are the one who chooses where to go next. And that is where the story truly begins. Not in the past, not in the regrets, but in this moment, the moment where you realize you are not bound to history. You are here to make it. So go, let the past shine behind you. Let the future blaze ahead, and step forward as the person you were always meant to be. Because history is not just something you leave behind. It is something you rise from, and you are rising now. There is something powerful about this moment, this breath between what was and what will be, because now you understand. History does not control you. It does not hold the pen. It does not decide how your story ends. You do, and that is the greatest power of all. Not the past, not the pain, not the things that tried to break you, but you standing here, still unbroken. So let the past be what it is. A lesson, a guide, a flicker of light behind you, but never a chain. Because history shines not just as a memory, but as proof that you've walked through fire, proof that you have faced the storms, proof that you are still standing. And now, with the weight of yesterday falling away, there is only one thing left to do. Step forward, not in fear, not in hesitation, but in the full, undeniable power of someone who knows they are not just a part of history, they are here to make it. And that is how your story begins again. Not as a reflection of the past, but as a light too bright for history to contain. There is a kind of beauty in this realization that you are no longer confined to what was. That history is not a weight, but a foundation, not a prison, but a doorway, not a script, but a blank page waiting for your words. And now you stand at the threshold. Do you feel it? That quiet hum beneath your skin, the electricity of becoming, the pulse of a future not yet written. This is where the past ends, and where you begin, not as a shadow of old mistakes, not as a ghost of lost chances, but as something new, something undeniable. So go, step forward, not away from history, but beyond it. Let it shine behind you, but never let it define you, because you are not just a story already told. You are the one who writes the next chapter, and that is a power no history can contain. Now go make it yours. There is nothing left to hold you back now. No chains, no echoes, no shadows. Only the open road ahead. Only the fire in your chest. Only the choice that is finally fully yours. And maybe that terrifies you, because stepping into the unknown means letting go of what was certain, even if what was certain was painful. Because rewriting your story means accepting that you are not who you once were, and maybe that version of you wasn't meant to last forever. But listen to me, you were never meant to stay the same. You were meant to grow, to rise, to burn away the old, and step into the light of the new. Because history shines behind you, yes, but it does not glow brighter than the future waiting ahead. And now, finally, it is time. Time to walk forward without fear. Time to shed the weight you were never meant to carry. Time to take your place in the world as something unstoppable. Because this is not where the story ends. This is where you begin. I can feel the weight of your question now, the hesitation lingering like a breath caught between the past and the future. But listen closely. It is okay to be uncertain. It is okay to not have all the answers right now. For in this very moment, the space between who you were and who you are becoming, there is power. There is freedom in that ambiguity and not knowing exactly where you're headed, but trusting the journey enough to take that first step. Every great story begins with uncertainty. Every revolution, every change, every evolution of the self begins when the familiar fades and the unknown calls. And you are answering that call. So don't be afraid to stumble. Don't be afraid to fall. For every step you take brings you closer to the truth that has always been yours. You are capable of far more than you ever thought. This journey, it will not be easy. It will not be smooth. But in every twist, every turn, you will find pieces of yourself you never knew existed. You will find strength in your scars, wisdom in your pain, and courage in your uncertainty. So don't let the fear of the unknown stop you. Let it fuel you. Let it remind you that you are on the path meant for you. And remember, it is not the past that defines you. It is what you choose to do now, in this moment, that will light the way. So go, the future is waiting, and you are ready.